All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, December 30th. We got a 6-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video, like we always do. We're gonna go through each and every one of these games. I'm gonna give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about anything else we like in the game. But as always, all of my final plays, if you do want to fade those picks, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment, always updated throughout the day by game time last night. A 2-0 night, a mini sweep, which I only like to bring out the money gun for real sweeps, 3+ sweeps. But because it's a mini sweep, we'll give it like a little, that's worth it, all right? A nice little 2-0 night, pumping some crowd noise. We had the Kings money line. I truly don't know how they won that game. I think the Hawks lost that game just as much as the Kings won it, but nonetheless, in the record books here, it's a dub. And then we had Terry Rozier over 28.5 points plus assists. Terry Rozier went for 40+. So I think that he covered that one just fine in points alone. So shout out to Terry there, man. Scary Terry. The fun does stop there. We were close with this one, but the ride of the day coming in from Beto here. He had Emmanuel Quickly over 12.5 points. Quickly finishes at 12. At 12, one more bucket, a foul shot, and we're looking at a dub here. But you know the rules, guys. With an L, we gotta drop the womp womp there. That's more for quickly landing on the hook than it is for Beto anyways. But guys, if you do want a shot at being the ride of the day and getting a shout out in the next video, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day with a pick in the comments. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick and giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we make cha-ching, we pumping some crowd noise. If you lose, you gotta face the womp womp. But again, Beto didn't even lose by that much. It was a good spot, but Quickly just didn't really have the volume behind it, so it was an L. But go ahead and use those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. Now let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. You guys have been killing it as of late, literally killing it. Acting like that like button is your bookie and popping it. Hit that like button. But we got the Jazz hosting the Miami Heat here. Right now, Jazz sitting as slight dogs at home, +1.5. Total sitting at 227. There's a lot to consider in terms of injuries here. This Miami injury report looks like Webster's dictionary with how many words and names and injuries are on it. So you have Jimmy Butler's questionable, Josh Richardson questionable, Kyle Lowry questionable, Jaime Jaquez questionable, Caleb Martin doubtful, Duncan Robinson probable. There's no Miami player props out. I think really we don't know who's playing and who's not for this team. So it's hard to kind of predict this spot. I will say, giving context here, if all those guys play, I do like Miami, but, and this is the context, this Jazz team is a way different team at home, like I've said all year long, right? At home here, they're 10-3 against the spread, whereas on the road, yikes, right? So I am going to lean towards Miami, assuming everyone plays, as well as a slight lean towards the total, because I think the pace of play is going to be great for with Utah at home. But both of those are kind of like, fringe plays right now because we don't know who's playing on the Miami side of things. A play that I really don't mind is going to be taking a peek at Colin Sexton here, over 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists. You can actually cut this up however you want. I don't mind his points and rebounds. I don't mind his points and assists or his points alone. But I think PRA having a chance at everything is what I'm going to roll with here. He's hit this in 8 of his last 10. One of those he landed right on the hook against a decent perimeter defense in Cleveland. You could see Miami doesn't necessarily cover the shooting guard position all that well, which, yes, Colin Sexton plays a lot of 1 guard and 2 guard there, depending on their rotation, but technically starting at the shooting guard. And what I like to see is the minutes consistency. If we go back here earlier in the season, you could see all these red numbers, right? But look at where the minutes were. The minutes were right around 20, 19, 26. Once we bump into a consistent minutes rate here, I don't mind Colin Sexton. But again, there's a lot of factors in this game that we have to wait out in terms of the injury report and all of that. So keep an eye in the pinned comment to see if we roll with anything in this game or even the Colin Sexton pick there. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. If you guys do want to try out that tool that I just showed, that is Outlier. You can get 7 days free just by using the link in the pinned comment. It's probably like, sound like a broken record, right? I've been talking about Outlier for so long now, but it's literally my favorite player prop research tool out there. So go check it out. 7 days free. Go check it out. Link in the pinned comment. Let's move on to the next game. Next up, we got the Pistons taking on the Raptors here. At some point, this Pistons streak has to end, right? Like, at some point, they have to win a game. Is it tonight? I'm not sure. I will say, this isn't like... We'll sound the psycho alert alarm. alarm. I'll say it. I don't mind the Pistons with the points here. This is like a spot in which they could cover. I don't know if they win, but they looked okay against the Celtics, which is kind of crazy, right? Took them to overtime and still covered the number with ease. They were 17-point dogs, lost by 6 in overtime. Now, I know I sounded the psycho alert alarm, so don't worry. You want to fade this pick, go for it. But this is such a good spot for them that this could be the game that they at least cover here, or even win, because Toronto coming off of a back-to-back in a game in which, it comes down to the wire. The Celtics beat them 120-118, right? And you have a Toronto team that has struggled, I guess, just on the road so far this season, 4-10 on the road this year. Like, this is a decent spot for the Pistons. But you can't even say that seriously, right? Like if there's any game that the Pistons could cover or win, it's this one. But I doubt that makes its way into the final plays. But I really am not comfortable laying on Toronto. So by default, I lean towards the Pistons. It just so happens that it's the Pistons. Like, this could be any team, and I'd be saying the same things about Toronto. But we shall see. Isaiah Stewart's going to miss some time. I think at least it was like 10 to 14 days, they said. So knock to them, but no other injuries to note. In terms of a total here, I really don't mind. I don't mind taking a peek at the under, though the Pistons have had a couple high-scoring games as of late, as have the Raptors. They both just played the Celtics in high-scoring games. I think this is kind of a come-back down-to-earth spot for the offenses. So I'm going to lean towards the under 230 here. Seeing on 230.5 over on Caesars. So maybe it's moving that direction. We can wait it out. But this is probably not a game that we actually put our money on, right? But I don't think it's a lock of a spot for the Raptors. Like, usually the Pistons are an auto fade, and I get it. I'm overhyping their game against the Celtics because they've been god-awful other than that. But this just is not an auto lock for the Raptors. That's what I'd say. But like I said, I sounded the psycho alert alarm. I know when I'm being crazy. Leaning the Pistons at all is pretty damn crazy. Player props, also nothing really jumps out to me here. There's just not a lot of consistency from a standpoint of any of these guys in terms of what I'm looking at. Maybe some unders because I like the under in the game, but that correlation isn't all that strong. So probably skip some player props in this game. Next, we have the Pacers, 3.5-point favorites at home over the Knicks here. Total sitting at 247. I don't mind the Pacers in this spot. Now, the Pacers look like they're starting to get back to playing decent basketball, right? 2 straight wins here. They beat Houston, which isn't all that easy of a task in Houston, and then they beat Chicago, who's been the red hot team. So they've covered 2 straight games as well. Favored in Chicago, win that game, and then they were dogs in Houston. They win that game. Now they return home to a Pacer stadium that they're 8-7 this year, and doing well against the spread as well. That's also 8-7 at home. I don't mind them in this spot. I don't know if we pull the trigger on it, because what you'll say about the Knicks is that, okay, well, they've struggled on the road. They struggled with, when they're on a back-to-back. They've struggled as away dogs, which is what they are today. So if all trends continue, like, they're 4-7-1 as away dogs this year against the spread. That's not that great. But I do think that the Knicks, though they lost last night, they've lost 3 of their last 4. They've played Milwaukee twice, OKC, and then Orlando. So for all intents and purposes, this Pacers team is the easiest team they've had to play in 4 or 5 games. So maybe this is a bounce back, get right spot for them, whereas they're coming in, no one believes in them. So I do like the Pacers here, but I think it stays as a lean, just to be completely honest. A spot that I really like in this game is actually taking a peek at Buddy Hield. Believe he's going to come off the bench again here as Nembhard's getting the start, but Buddy Hield's been good coming off the bench. As long as the minutes are going to stay right around 30, I like his points plus assists, as well as a shot at his 3-pointers made. 3-pointers made over 3.5 for plus 140. This is a guy that's hit that so many times. I think it was like 45% of times this season, right? And then in his last 5 games, he's hit it 4 times. He's shooting 10 to 12 threes per game. 10 to 12 threes per game. If he just shoots, 36 to 40%, which is what he's shooting this year, that's looking like some money for him to make 4 threes. Now, I don't know if it makes its way into the final plays because it is a plus 140 play. If it does, we'll probably throw like a quarter or a half unit on it, but I don't mind the volume there. I just don't know if we have the cojones to pull the trigger. But I don't mind his over 16.5 here from his points and assists standpoint. He's hit this in 5 of his last 6 games. Again, bench or starting, doesn't matter to me as long as he's going to be getting consistent minutes, which hopefully he does. And he's hit this in 4 straight games against the Knicks as well. And the last 2 games, he had 6 assists and 4 assists. So that's kind of why I'm including that in there, because other than that, I don't mind his points line at 14.5. But if he can give us 4 assists, that line looks really, really good. So Buddy Hield may be a spot to target in this game. Now, the total we'll get to is sitting at 247. This Pacers team, it's kind of funny the way that they've won games. Now we can even include the Houston game, I guess, because even that was an under, and it finished at what, 123 to 117, finished just slightly under. They've had 3 straight unders, and again, 2 of those games were wins. So I think this Pacers team maybe slowing it down a little bit, probably still playing at a pace that's faster than the Knicks would like to play at, but this Knicks team is going to obviously want to try and slow the pace too if they're going to win games, right? Like, they'll win games by slowing the pace. So I don't mind the under 247 in this spot. I may pay some extra juice, bump it up to like something a little bit more comfortable, 250, something like that. Keep an eye on the pinned comment, but yeah, if I were to rank these, I'd probably go taking a peek at Healed, looking at the under, and then yeah, Pacers minus 3.5 in terms of 3 leans on this game. All right, guys, before we get to the back half of the slate, let me jump in and show you the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. If you want to check out this tool, you can use the link in the pinned comment and make sure you use code GUYBOSTON when signing up. You'll get 25% off of your first month, but it's an absolute no-brainer. If you're on PrizePicks, if you're on Underdog, Parlay, Play, Sleeper, any of those DFS apps here, what this does is compares PrizePicks lines, all the PrizePicks lines available, to the sportsbooks lines, so you know the value you have when heading into PrizePicks. If a sportsbook is juicing a play, like Anthony Edwards, under 5.5 assists or rebounds here, right? Like Fliff, minus 145, Bovada, minus 130, MGM, minus 135, DraftKings, minus 130. If they're juicing that, sportsbooks thinks that this is the likely outcome. They've existed for so long, right? Because it's a profitable business being a sportsbook. We can use that math against them and go over on PrizePicks and make these plays for, with value in them. If it's a more likely to hit type of a prop, why wouldn't you include it in PrizePicks, which does not care about your odds, right? And why would you put, just like we looked at that Buddy Hield line, right? Why would I put a plus 140 pick into a PrizePicks slip if it's the non-likely thing to hit, right? We might as well take that as a single bet elsewhere on a sportsbook. So go check this out. Again, use code GUYBOSTON, guys. You will get 25% off with that link and that code. Go ahead and check it out. Again, code GUYBOSTON. Use the link in the pinned comment. I'm using this tool all the time. We've showed it on stream, everything like that. In fact, I used this tool to go 6 for 6 the other night in NHL, literally 2 nights ago, right? We showed it on stream afterwards. 6 for 6, $20 to win 500. Go check out the optimizer, guys. That link, again, is in the pinned comment. Let's go ahead and get back to the slate. Next up, we got the Bulls taking on the Sixers. Joel Embiid is listed as questionable, so that's going to be an obvious game changer. I think he's missed 3 straight games with the ankles, so if he plays, this thing can get absolutely shaken up, obviously, right? So we'll keep an eye on that injury report. Patrick Williams is questionable on the side of Chicago. Last time they played, which was, 2 weeks ago, Chicago actually won 108 to 104, but Philly's now won out of their last 2 games here. They've won 2 straight games without Joel Embiid, and that's against Orlando and against Houston, who are 2 decently defensive teams, and they were on the road there as well. My problem here is that I think that they're looking at this spot in a spot in which, okay, well, they're on the road. Then I believe in a couple days they play, if I'm not mistaken, play Chicago in Philly. This could be like a spot where Embiid sits again, Chicago gets the better of them, and then Embiid comes back when they're at home. So I'm going to lean towards Chicago here, but I think my favorite play in this spot is going to be looking at the over 222.5. This is a Chicago team that started to score a lot of points, but they kind of fell off, right, in the last 3 games or so. Their hot streak has kind of come to an end. If this does not have a Joel Embiid in the game, like if Philly doesn't have Joel Embiid, this could be another spot for them, I think, to put up a decent amount of points. So this is just a total that's a little bit too low for me here, so I'm going to lean towards the over. That's probably my main look in this game, like I said. Now, in terms of player props, nothing is really jumping out at me. Again, we're waiting on a lot too because Joel Embiid's not playing. Even the lines that are out, it's like, well, if Embiid plays both defensively and offensively, that just kind of absolutely throws a wrench into things. So we'll probably wait on some player props. I don't know what we'll dive into necessarily. Maybe we just skip player props in this game altogether, and that might be it. We might just be looking at the over here as a confident lean. All right, Minnesota taking on the Lakers here. The usual injury report for the Lakers: LeBron, Anthony Davis questionable here. In terms of Minnesota things, Karl-Anthony Towns is questionable, so definitely keep an eye on that. I don't think I mind Minnesota on the money line. Now, you're paying a little bit of juice, but as 4-point favorites, be able to get them at minus 140 over on FanDuel, I actually think is like I would expect them to be more along the lines of minus 150 as 4-point favorites and whatnot. So I don't mind Minnesota on the money line. I don't know if I'm comfortable with the 4 points, especially not knowing if Towns is playing. But yeah, I think that that's a fair lead. I think they're the better team. They're at home as well, which is obviously a plus for them. They're 13-1 this year straight up at home, 9-5 against the spread at home, but they're going up against a Lakers team that's 7-10 against the spread on the road and just 6-11 on the road in terms of straight up. So Lakers definitely a home away team of a split that matters. Minnesota playing good basketball. They've won, I think it's 7 of their last 10 or maybe 6 of the last 10, at least 6 of their last 8 or so. But yeah, give me Minnesota here. In terms of the total, 226, my gut originally went to the under, but I have a feeling we could see plenty of overs here. In terms of where this line is, the Lakers have hit 9 of their last 10 games going over this mark. And Minnesota, a good defensive team, but still have hit the over here in 7 of their last 10 when it comes to this number. So I'm gonna trust the data on that one again, I guess. So I'm gonna lean towards the over all in all, because yes, you have a defensive team in Minnesota, blah blah blah. The under looks appealing, but trends are trends for a reason. So my most confident lean in this is probably going to be obviously Minnesota on the money line. In terms of what we're looking for player prop perspective, there's not much that I'm really, nothing that's jumping off the page. In terms of positional stuff, Minnesota really covers the small forward well, which obviously is like LeBron's true position, but like, can you ever take a LeBron under comfortably? Probably not, but there is some positional stuff there, matchup stuff that looks okay. I just doubt you're going to see LeBron James under anything in the pinned comment. All right, Warriors taking on the Mavs. Mavericks catching points here, plus 4.5 on the road. Luka is questionable, so as we know, Luka didn't play last game. If he plays tonight, I think that this is a good spot for the Mavericks to cover, potentially win the game outright. This Warriors team, I don't think I can really trust much. Like, you have the whole, like, oh, they're good at home. They're 9-7 straight up, right? Well, against the spread at home, they're 5-10-1 this year. Like, that stinks, and we saw what they did last time out, right? Like, this is a Warriors team that is definitely struggling. They lose 114-102. Like yeah, Steph, Clay, like they got their guys, but I think that it's a team of frauds right now, and they need something to happen to get them back into gear. So give me the Mavs here plus the points. Want to wait out to see if Luka plays. Obviously, I think it'll affect the line a little bit. So if you're a gambler, which you're watching this, so maybe you are, maybe you pull the trigger with the plus 4.5, so you get the best line available. We might do that because I think Luka probably wants to play in this game, if I had to guess, against Steph and all that. But again, if it's a true injury, which you never really know in the NBA, he could be out. Like, look at Embiid. We kind of thought it was he didn't travel on Christmas to go to play on the Christmas Day game. Like, what is he, resting? But it's like, no, it's Christmas. Like, that's probably a real injury. And now a couple games after, he's also missed. So maybe it's a bad one, but nonetheless, guys, give me the Mavericks here, assuming Luka plays. In terms of the total, I don't mind the over. It's not my favorite spot in this game. I really don't like the under, though. Like, at some point, this Golden State offense is going to pop, and I could easily see it being against this team, and they've covered the over here in 7 of their last 10 meetings dating back to last year, so could be a points game. Neither defense really scares me. Now, in terms of player props, I have 2 Warrior spots that I'm looking at. We'll dive into Outlier again so you guys could see what I am looking at here. So Outlier, Klay Thompson, it's a weird wonky one, but over 4.5 first quarter points. You know he's going to be jacking threes from the minute that ball goes off the tip, right? And he's hit this in 6 straight games and in 7 of his last 8. The one that he didn't hit it on was because he didn't hit a 3. He had 4 points. He had 2 buckets there. So I like this spot. He's hit it in 67% of games this year, and he's landed on 4 a couple times, on 3 a couple times. He could make 2 threes and cash this with ease. So I really don't mind this. The only problem with first quarter points is, like, if a guy's having a bad night, he doesn't have time to get better, right? You're kind of just taking the quick chance. My next one is going to be Brandon Podziemski, which I know I'm not saying his name correctly, but you guys know me. Over 15.5 points plus assists. The dude's been getting assists as of late. Look at this. 4 assists, 5 assists, 2 assists, which was an under, 5 assists, 5 assists, 1 assist, which is an under, 5 assists, 7 assists, 6 assists, 6 assists. Like, he's getting plenty of assists. He's hit this in 6 of his last 10 here. I don't mind his points line, but I really do want to include include assists in there, because this is a guy that is averaging over his last 10, 8.3 potential assists. And if you look at what Dallas is doing, they're allowing the 5th most assists to the point guard position, and they're allowing the 2nd most points. So points plus assists from Podziemski probably seems like it may be a good spot to look at. So again, guys, check out Outlier with that link in the pinned comment. 7 days free. But that's going to wrap for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and that like button, sharing and all that stuff. Make sure you follow me over on X. We're posting the ride of the day. We're interacting with you guys, and I'm following pretty much everyone back as of late. So if you do want an extra Twitter follower, X follower, go ahead and hit me up over there. But that's all I got for you guys today. We'll catch you guys in the next video, all right? Peace out.